When the long vacation finally came, Mr. and Mrs. Okoye felt a rare sense of peace settle over their home. For the first time in years, Lagos traffic, noise, pressure, and temptation were far behind them. They lived in their own quiet house, far from the rush of the city, and to them this 3-month break was not just a holiday, it was a season of rest for their only daughter, Amarachi Okoye, who had just turned 18. Amarachi was beautiful in a gentle, effortless way. Not loud, not careless, just the kind of beauty that turned heads without trying. Her parents believed that here, away from chaos, she would be safe. To keep her engaged, they enrolled her in a nearby private school, only a 20-minute drive from home, where she could attend vacation classes alongside her peers. Every morning, her father drove her himself. Every afternoon, he picked her up personally. Mr. Okoye made sure his daughter lacked nothing. He bought her a good phone, paid for constant data subscription, provided clothes, shoes, and everything she could possibly need. Mrs. Okoye checked on her regularly, calling almost every hour, reminding her where she should be and what time she would return. Amarachi understood their care, and at first, she welcomed it. On her first day at the new school, Amarachi walked into the classroom quietly, dressed neatly in her uniform. The room shifted almost immediately. Eyes followed her. Whispers spread. Some students smiled. Others stared openly. By break time, she had already been surrounded by classmates asking for her name, her phone number, and even where she lived. Some wanted to be her friend. Others wanted more. Amarachi laughed politely, declined gently, and kept her distance. She played hard to get, not out of pride, but out of caution. She remembered her mother's voice, "Not everyone who smiles means well." Yet attention has a way of pressing on the mind. Among the boys who noticed her was Thunder Adebayo. He did not rush her like the others. He watched. He listened. With him was Connell, quieter and more observant, who warned him not to take things lightly. But Thunder was patient. They planned carefully. Instead of confronting Amarachi directly, they organized a small party on campus, nothing wild, nothing suspicious. Just music, laughter, and students unwinding after classes. When Amarachi arrived that evening, dressed simply but elegantly, she felt relaxed for the first time since school began. Thunder approached calmly, spoke respectfully, and kept his distance. That night, they talked. Not about promises, not about feelings, just about school, life, and dreams. Something shifted. After that evening, conversations continued quietly, behind school buildings, during lunch breaks, and later, on the phone at night. At first, it felt harmless. Thunder spoke kindly. He listened. He made her feel seen. When her parents called, Amarachi always answered. When they asked where she was, she replied calmly, "I'm in class." Sometimes it was true. Sometimes it wasn't. Her first boyfriend did not take her seriously. When disappointment came, Amarachi drifted. Drawn by attention, comfort, and the need to feel wanted. Slowly, lines blurred. One night, while lying on her bed scrolling through messages, Ton asked for something different. A private picture. Amarachi froze. She refused immediately. He apologized, said he understood, and promised never to pressure her again. Then, gently, repeatedly, he assured her that he would never show anyone, that it was just between them. Days passed. Messages softened. Promises grew heavier. Trust was spoken more than it was earned. Against her better judgment, Amarachi sent one picture. Then another. Then a short video. Each time, her heart raced. Each time, she told herself it would be the last. Each time Amarachi sent a private picture, she whispered the same promise to herself. This is the last time. But the request never stopped. Ton's messages grew frequent, then demanding, sweet words turning into pressure. She resisted, argued, delayed, until the weight became too much. Quietly, she ended it. Peter came next. At first, he felt different, more patient, more understanding. But soon, the same questions appeared. The same expectations. The same hunger disguised as care. Frustration crept in. Then another boy entered her life, older, confident, offering attention without messages alone. She visited him. Talked. Stayed longer than she planned. And suddenly, Amarachi realized something terrifying. The names had changed. The faces had changed. But the pattern had not. She wasn't running from them anymore. She was running in circles. And for another time, she wondered. Was the problem really them, or the silence she kept choosing? That night, Amarachi stood quietly before her mirror, studying her reflection, the confidence in her posture, the beauty she had slowly learned to rely on, the curves that now drew attention she barely understood, and for the first time, she did not feel proud, only exposed. Unseen by her, in another part of town, Tan sat with a few boys he called friends, laughing too loudly, speaking carelessly, their words drifting toward a plan that stripped affection of its disguise and turned trust into danger, while Tan smiled and said little, letting silence agree where words did not. Back in her room, Amarachi's mind replayed everything that had made her drift, the attention, the secrecy, the lies she had normalized, and for the first time, she traced the problem back to herself, not her parents, not the world, but the choices she had allowed to grow unchecked. The next morning, she sat beside her mother in the living room, asking questions that sounded general but carried the weight of confession, listening closely as her mother spoke gently about self-worth, boundaries, and the quiet strength of saying no, never knowing she was speaking directly to the wound her daughter was trying to heal. With those words, Amarachi made a decision. She would change. She returned to her room lighter than she had felt in weeks, hope rising quietly in her chest, just as her phone rang. It was thunder. His voice was warm, familiar, careful, telling her to prepare for the next day because he was taking her out, promising laughter, comfort, and nothing to fear. Amarachi stared at the ringing phone, her mother's words still echoing in her heart, her reflection watching her from the mirror, and for the first time, the choice was clear, but not yet made.